So, good evening, everyone. I'm Bonai Gypsy from Earthkeepers Connect Goa,
Hi.
your host for this evening, the last day of the pre summit webinars leading up to the New Earth Summit in November. It is the second edition of India's first integrated summit on solutions to our problems in health, food, farming, and the environment. I extend a warm welcome to esteemed panelists of this evening on behalf of our summit convener, Daryl De Souza, and also our 10 Earthkeeper groups in India and overseas. And we express our gratitude to you for taking out time from your busy schedules to be with us and to share your insights and experience so that all watching this webinar and its recording later may understand the grave danger Goa faces due to the coal transportation project being started now in Goa. So that's our topic for today, Goa, a coal hub. I'll start by introducing our panelists. Inacio is an electrical engineer by qualification, and he served for 10 years in the electrical department of Goa as an electrical engineer with expertise in power transmission lines and substations. Thereafter, he worked with a US firm in Saudi Arabia for over 7 years, planning transmission lines for Aramco. Thereafter, he joined the Merchant Navy as the marine engineer and served for 20 long years on ships and as a technical manager on land. He is presently working as a marine consultant from Goa and devotes a lot of his time working with NGOs supporting various good causes towards a better world for our future generation. Daryl De Souza. Daryl De Souza has been teaching people how to reverse chronic illnesses with integrated natural therapies for 15 years now, after his own journey of 14 years of sickness that almost ended his life in 2004. His book, Become Healthy or Extinct, as well as lectures, seminars, workshops, and residential retreats on this topic, are highly sought after by individuals and organizations. He has served a 5-year term as a secretary of the World United Doctors and Healers Association and has curated and convened 4 mind, body, and spirit healing conferences. Darryl is also an organic farmer, an environmentalist, a TEDx speaker, founder of Earthkeepers Connect, the ambassador of Vegan Nation, and convener of the New Earth Summit. Over 20 years, Darryl has developed a keen interest in soil biology, animal, plant, human biology, marine biology, planetary ecology, sociology, and holistic living, which inspired him to launch the New Earth Summit, now in its second year, as a platform to showcase their integrated and symbiotic functioning. Avinash Tavares. Avinash Tavares is an IT engineer by profession and a democratic socialist patriot who protects the environment as well. Avinash works as a consultant for small and medium businesses and offers a legal and technical perspective to Goa's surveillance strategy. So here's our first question for our panelists, all engineers. What are the problems Goa is facing due to the government's move to make Goa a coal hub? I would request Inacio to share with us.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone who is on the webinar now. It's a very nice topic that we are going to discuss today, I believe. It's in fact affecting total Goans, Goa and Goans, if not Indians. Goa being a very small state, you really have to find out on the national map where is Goa for people who are not very much aware. And to have such a destructive, such a highly polluting project, which will never be used for the betterment of Goa. It does not actually have any meaning of having it here because we don't use it. Not to say that it is not being used in the other part of the country, but it is going to do a lot of damage to our tiny state. Let me start by saying the first and foremost will be the pollution. Pollution of air, pollution of water, pollution of our health of the people, or you can say, destruction of our marine life. Because as we operate this coal, it is going to come from outside. It's going to come by ship. It's not going to come by rail or road or whatever. It's going to come by ship. It will be unloaded at the port. And I, being a shippy, I can tell you that I have worked and I have seen how coal is being unloaded and how much of a pollution it creates, not only inland, but in the waters. It is terrible. So the marine life will be the first. Before it even comes to the people, the marine life will be the first thing that will be affected. And Goa, as we know, is mainly famous for agriculture and for marine products. We have fishermen who are doing their livelihood just by doing the activity of fishing. So when you do this unloading of this coal at Vasco, I know how the port will take care, because the coal comes not in wet condition. It cannot be brought wet. There is a certain percentage of moisture that can be induced, but it cannot be wet that it should not fly. Because as you unload with grabs into the, whether it is into another mother vessel or a barge or onto the port belts, it flies like anything. There is no way I have seen in the world, there is no such a way, or there is no such a system where you can stop this flying of coal or falling of coal into the water. It falls. And being a heavy particle, it just settles down into the water, down below to the bottom. It destroys the marine life. That is the first effect. That is the first effect that will happen. The second effect will be, because we hardly use any coal in Goa. The only consumer in Goa is Vedanta, which is using less than 1 million tons per year. Just less than 1 million tons per year. And today we are already transporting more than 12 million tons per year out of Goa by transit. So that is the fact. Now the port is not under the state government. The state government cannot earn any revenue out of it. So it doesn't even benefit the state. And in return, it doesn't benefit the local people in way of tax or anything. So it will destroy that. Then the livelihood of the traditional fishermen, what I have said. Now, there are so many other projects which are linked to this. Coal doesn't just come to Vasco and it stays there. It has to be taken out of Goa to Karnataka for the steel factories to run their plants. How does it go? It will go by trains. It will go by road. Then there is another question of the amount of coal that will be coming into Goa by ships. The infrastructure there may not be so much to unload the amount of coal that comes. So you need stocking. You need to stack the coals. So MPT does not have so much of a place to stock so much of coal. That is the time the Sagarmala project comes in. With the Sagarmala projects, all rivers are taken away by the center. For what purpose? This is the purpose. This is the purpose, to stack the coal along the rivers so that Later on, whenever demand is there, whenever it can be, it will be taken away by roads or by train or any other method. So we are spoiling our rivers. The fishermen there is so much of a fisher community who survives on the marine life there. How will they survive? Because once Sagarmala project is implemented, there are restrictions which are there in the report we have seen, which will prevent a common man to even venture into the rivers. How are we talking about livelihood of these people? It will be just cut off. People will be dead without anything to eat. Just like how we have seen this in COVID in the last 6 months, how people have been struggling to survive because of no work, because of that, so many industries have fallen short. So what will happen here? It will be a disaster. Then we are talking of the railway project. Goa, from liberation till now, the Vasco track from Londa to Vasco was on a single track. Coal was going, but not to the extent of what we are talking of it now. Now, the project is so much that they will by 2030 go up to 51 million tons per year. And how will they evacuate that coal from Goa? Roads will be flooded with trucks. You can see the national highways and the expressways that are being expanded. They call it is a development. But what? Everybody is talking. There are agitations going up in Goa now, right now. People are talking about it. The government is not listening. It is for the coal. Forests are being destroyed. Trees are being cut. Trees, we call them the lungs of nature, because they hold carbon dioxide and they give out good oxygen to people. And when you cut the trees, you cut our lungs. There is a direct connection of human being and trees, because a tree, by its structure, absorbs and keeps with it 35% of it is CO2. Just imagine amount of cutting that is going to go. It is going to rot, it is going to decay, and that CO2 will be released in air, which we will breathe. So this massive destruction is on hand for a simple project to help these corporate houses to save little money. To save little money. And we, being a very tiny state, it's not going to help us. It is not for our development. Why are you getting this coal in Goa? The third link that is coming up is the transmission tower lines which are coming through our national parks. What is it for? It is not for the power requirement of Goa. We are not short of power requirement till today. It is not managed well by this department. That is why we have so much of power failure. It is not because of transmission lines. It is because of the distribution system in Goa, which these people, I am an electrical engineer. I have worked 10 years in this department, and I can tell you, you take my word, it is because we are lacking in bringing up the system. It is the distribution system. It is the theft at the end. It is not the theft at the transmission line which has to be arrested. It is the theft at the end which has to be controlled. So you see these three linear projects, they are all together. The only thing that is happening, all these three projects which are coming is just for coal. Because the transmission lines, what are going to come through Mollem, cutting through the parks and cutting through the private forests, destroying all of that, will be used for the traction system. Because if you see now, the railway lines are being electrocuted. They use a traction system of high power, which the Goa government, the Goa substation right now does not have to supply to that. So this 400 kV transmission line which we are talking about is coming to Goa is one for the traction system of the railway. And the second thing is what we have seen is it will be sold by the proponent to other states for other purposes. So what is the benefit for Goa? When our people talk that the electricity will be, it will be good, people will have uninterrupted power supply, please don't believe that. I, for one, being an electrical engineer, worked in this electrical department. I can tell you, transmission lines, that also 400 kV transmission lines cannot guarantee you uninterrupted power in your house or in your factory. It is the distribution system which is at the lower level, which will determine whether you get a continuous power or not. So everything is destructive. Everything is not for Goa. There is nothing which Goa or Goans will benefit of. Our fields are being cut to make these roads of expressways. Do we really need them? They are just cutting through a small state. It's a small state. How many EIS have been done? Now this transmission line, railway double tracking is going through the Western Ghats, through national parks. Why is EIA not been done? It is not been done. The rules are flouted. And the worst part I can tell you is our government is to be held responsible first for a simple reason. We gave our consent without even doing a proper study on this. None of the projects they have done a thorough study. But to have a football match, to have a football tournament, to have tourism, our people are going to other countries to have, the first hand experience. But when such important projects where the livelihood of Goans, where the destruction of Goa is seen, nobody has appointed any agency to study this. There are already reports on the Western Ghats by Madhav Gadgils. It is rejected. It is rejected. It's sad to say. So we, by these three linear projects, are only looking at destruction of our Goa. And mind you, this is just a starting. They are invoking special acts, like how for the double tracking, now the Railway Act is being evoked. They will evoke other acts so that the voice of the common people is suppressed. It is really bad that we are going through such a difficult phase. Thank you.
Thank you, Inacio. It's really sad. Now I'll ask Avinash to share with us.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, what a lot of what Inas said is absolutely right. The kind of phase that we are going to is the economic model wherein there are a bunch of oligarchs who are using the democratic setup to to essentially rule and to extract as much as they can from Goa's resources. And in this case, it's not just the land. Normally, Goa is known for a lot of land resource. That's why our prices are very high. There's a lot of demand for land here, but they're not just taking our land away. They're taking the air away, and they're taking our right to good health, our right to dignity, uh, our rights to decide what kind of villages we want, what kind of society we want. And a train passing through a village by itself is divides the village. I mean, Mumbai, you have Andhra East and West, and so many of these places that have been divided into uh, town or a part of that village, which used to be united, suddenly becomes two separate entities, and that's what is happening in many of the villages today with the Konkan Railway. Now, this additional project of coal, what they are bringing in, it's first of all, if let's take the health aspect. Vasco had a major outbreak of COVID, and much faster than many of the other places in Goa. And there are several reasons behind it. First, obviously, was the when the Indian government took over the ports and also set up industries, they never thought of making continuing the planned development of Vasco that had started by the Portuguese. So that's why all the slums came there. That's why all the very high density yet low, the shanties came over there, and that itself made people vulnerable. On the top of that, there is this the level of pollution because of coal, which started in the late 90s, shot up so much that, and today it's about 8 to 12 million tons. That the there is the average pollution level in Vasco, and especially when you talk about the pollutants that are as fine as 2.5, less than 2.5, this thing micrometer, is so high that it's like smoking throughout the day. And that is why people's lungs were weak, and therefore people uh, were were very vulnerable to this COVID, and that's why it spread like that. Now, thankfully, the government took control and kind of did all the tests and managed to uh, curtail that. But the issue has not been solved. As people are as vulnerable as they were before COVID. It's just that we were lucky with COVID. Now, this vulnerability is going to spread to the rest of the state because of this railway line. The dust from this coal travels kilometers, and uh, the people living along the railway line are already vulnerable. There is no amount of covering you can do. There's no amount of all these stopgap measures and all these fancy this thing that they fancy promises they make to control pollution. In fact, the problem what happened was Goa government was so uh, uh, Goa government went against the people when we were telling them, when we were pointing about the pollution. They said there's no pollution, it's caused because of Vasco City. And now when Goa government wants to charge cess, depending wants to collect the cess that the companies running in MPT have to pay, they the MPT those companies are saying that we are not polluting. And who had said first that they are not polluting? It was the government that said it. It's because of the citizen agitation the government had to recognize there's some amount of pollution. And our pollution standards are one of the most pathetic in the world. When the pollution rises, it's when the pollution's, it's for example, P10, particulate matter of 10 micrometer, has to, from 2.5 to 10. If it has to be below 60 uh, uh, ppm in every day, the average has to be below 60. Now, what it means that if it's above 60, it is polluting. In Murmugaon, it's about 70, 80. But they never tell you this daily average of 60. They talk about the peak, that is 100. So they say it's always below 100. Now, what is the value of 100? When pollution is, say, 80, it means that it is still polluting the air. And when it crosses 100, if it crosses 100 for 3 consecutive days, that factory has to be shut down. Now, the trust, because of the way the government has been behaving, and when I say government, I'm not targeting any particular party. It's a continuous process. The bureaucrats, and it involves everyone along, including NPT. The way they're behaving is that they first try to hide it, then they blame something else. So we cannot even trust when they put instruments, and it's so sad if you think about it, that when the moment we lose trust in the government, then there's very little democracy left. And what ends up being is kind of anarchy. And it is not, when you say anarchy, is these protests that are happening, we are going up against ourselves. uh, Unfortunately, the government is not realizing that, and there's no win-win situation. There's nobody going to win out of this. What the government should have done is they should have first made everything transparent right at the proposal stage, which they did not do. And the reason they do not do that, because they themselves know that these projects are non-sustainable. They are projects that can run for 20 years to 50 years, maybe a generation. But a human generation is not as long as a generation of an enterprise which can last for 100 years, like say Tata's or now. So they they know that in the next 50 years they can extract as much as they can from these projects, and they don't care because about the people here. So uh, and the harm that it will do is going to last few more generations. Now, how do we so one is the health issue, the other is uh, the economic issue. And the most important sad part about it is that if these projects come, the Goa as we know it, I mean, we are not perfect. We're not a perfect state. We still have conflicts among ourselves. But we are a family. And imagine somebody comes in and, you know, puts up a factory. You are living with your joint family in a building, and somebody comes on the ground floor and opens a garage, opens some hazardous this thing, and we are supposed to keep quiet. The builder is telling us, no, that's a business running now, or and the family is supposed to keep quiet. That is unacceptable. uh, the alternative is not another port. It is not better ways of transporting. It is not more investment in better technology. It is simply that we have to move out of coal. That is India's commitment to the United Nations. And I think it is now a state commitment also, because after many years, our state government realized that there are UN Sustainable Development Goals which we had to implement, which we had to adopt. So we have to move out of coal, and just does not mean that we stop utilizing coal or utilizing power generated from coal. It is that we stop all sort of participation, including allowing our state to transport it. It's like Goa is allowing flesh trade or drug trade. We are not buying or selling it, but we are just allowing it to pass to the state, and we are supposed to call it development. So we need to stop. We need to understand this thing, and we need to stop the argument about development, because coal world over is not considered as development. Sometimes I laugh at Donald Trump. We need to laugh at our own sometimes leaders when they talk about coal. So we laugh at Donald Trump because he's still pushing coal, and we need to. The government needs to understand that, and most importantly, the people. A lot of people are going to come out to vote, but a lot of people are going to come out to protest, but when they go to vote, they have to make this issue as the voting issue. This issue obviously started coming after 2017. So it although the nationalization of rivers, I think, was there before the election, but we have to keep our own petty politics aside, and the only way to change the mindset of is to change the government from this point of view. If they don't listen, I hope the government listens as soon as possible, because in the next 2 years they can do a lot. But we need to understand that Goa cannot be a hub for coal anymore. We are already a hub. It's not about whether we are going to become a hub and what's going to become a we are a hub already, and it has to stop. So that's that in short, because 150 million tons is the target under Sagarmala. 150 million tons of coal is going to go through the state. And I would just like to end with one additional point. I am increasingly becoming convinced that the reason why central government is not keen on uh, starting the mine is because they don't want, is because from the central government point of view, uh, the mining income is peanuts compared to the income that they can generate through coal. And as long as the mines are closed, it's easier to push for all these coal based logistics projects. But the day mining opens again, there's going to become a conflict between the mining lobby and the coal lobby. And the port is going to get congested. The cost of operating the port is, cost of transporting via the port is going to increase. So that's another thing I hope people realize, especially the mining affected people, that if that that I kind of believe, and I want people to think about it, That is because the coal transportation that they want to export exclusively for bulk cargo of imports, majorly coal, is that they don't want to export this low-grade iron ore of Goa out of it, out of this NPT port. So yeah, we are being used as a pawn in this whole game of between corporates.
Yes, absolutely, Avinash. And of course, our biodiversity, everything gets affected. So now I would request Daryl to share with us.
Yes, Miguel, thank you. And I, of course, completely agree with both our panelists. All the points that are made are so very important. And maybe a little detail on what they've already shared. Starting with what Avinash mentioned about COVID cases in Vasco. So that is what I can't understand. At this time of Corona, where we know it's a lung infection and breathing is going to be affected. So how are they so open about getting coal into Goa and doing this huge corridor when all around the route it is going to affect people, and it directly. So there is a grade of coal that Inacio explained that when unloading at the port, that the heavier coal falls into the sea and contaminates the sea, and the sea life gets destroyed. And there is a finer grade that goes into the air and it gets dispersed, and especially in moving. So when there are trucks moving and when there are trains moving, it gets dispersed even faster. So this doesn't make it's actually a hazard that at this point where we see that there's a first wave of corona and there's a second wave of corona, and these cases are going up, and it's already shown that Vasco has had a higher incidence of this. So I wonder what whether our health minister doesn't have any vote in this at all. Our cabinet of ministers, they don't see jointly at current state of what is going on. So I think this is the worst time, and for them to take knowing that this is the situation, how can they bring in something like this, which is known to cause lung problems and breathing problems, and weaken all the immunity of Goans, so they become even more susceptible to corona. So the first problems, of course, we have been seeing the videos since few months. Of course, the cases were already there in Vasco of adults and children getting more so affected by and having breathing problems. And the videos have been coming out now because they were suffering earlier also, but because this issue has come up, that they're bringing their case in the front, and people are sharing those videos. So it's already known that just at that port itself, and now with a single track, even there is this coal dust in the air, and it's going to be doubled now. That means you're going to have double that amount of dust in the air, and added to that is the road transport system, which the trucks. So I mean, we are just looking for disaster, and I think it's the worst kind of decision that we are not stopping just because of this current scenario, global scenario, when we know that the biggest threat on the planet is to the lungs. So another point I wanted to mention on what Inacio shared, about the Sagarmala and the dredging of the rivers to keep these barges with coal, stacked on them. Now, during the dredging, of course, the marine life gets affected. That is in the sea over there. But during the dredging, at the sides, as you dredge at the sides, the mangroves also get taken off. An important point to note is that this was there in our, when we spoke on our earlier webinar on saving our oceans and coasts, that fish, they come from the seas, the bigger fish come from the seas into the estuaries, that means into our salt rivers, and they lay their eggs in the estuaries, in the mangroves, and that's where the actual breeding happens. So this dredging is going to happen, is going to kill the complete habitat and destroy the mangroves in the estuaries, and the fish are not going to breed. So then I don't know how there's going to be fish in Goa. So that ecological system is also completely going to be destroyed. Of course, then the biodiversity of and Bhagwan Mahavir Sanctuary is it's on the global map as a heritage site. And the amount of animals, birds, plants, reptiles, and all of that that are there, similarly going to get damaged besides the tree cutting. And it is also a corridor for a tiger reserves. There are tiger reserves, and the Mollem area is like a corridor for the tigers to pass. So their habitat is also being destroyed. Now, I just want to share one perspective. Goa's ancient name is Gomantak, which means actually Sanskrit. The meaning was land where the gods once walked. So it was a very divine place in the past, and the energy has changed so much. Even still, people from all over the world, they come to Goa to certain places which are not so much polluted, and they find Arambol is like a spiritual energy. Some people find Palolem is a very restful energy. But the current scenario of Goa, I'll just tell you, I was appealing to big group of people with funding to do an eco village here in Goa, and they were from Bombay and other parts of India. And they clearly, even though I gave very good design and all that, they turned it down. They said, it's an eco community and we want to bring in spirituality and holistic living over there. But you couldn't suggest to us, Darryl, a worse place than Goa. I said, why? I live over here and I can see some good things. The energy is good. The seaside is there, the river, the trees. I said, Goa today is known as the this liquor capital of the country. You want to have booze, you go to Goa. You want to have illegal sex, you go to Goa. You want to have drugs, go to Goa. Want to go for the rave parties, go to Goa. Okay. And now Goa is also becoming, with the casinos, it's also becoming a channel for laundering of black money. So they totally refused and they said, no, we can never do this project over here in Goa. So I was so disappointed with that. And now added to that is, through this summit and even before the summit, we have been doing so many projects and movements trying to do it to get Goa healthy and green again. And if anybody goes to our New Earth Summit website, you'll see these projects. One of them that I vehemently spoke about and was promoting last year and even this year was wellness tourism. Now, wellness tourism, it was the model was have to make 1,000 integrative natural medicine centers in Goa, and that did not even need much of new construction and cement and all that. Just using old Portuguese villas, redoing them, and somebody, just with one investor itself, a whole villa can be redone. And I'm a pioneer in this in India, and people know me across the globe on the integrative natural medicines, center, the model. And I even spoke at a Baroda summit a year back. And this is the model for the future, because the current system of medicine is not able to save people's lives. So this wellness tourism is about using existing structures that are not because people are not getting money over here, so they're not able to maintain all the villas. But this, it trains people and teaches them so many ancient Indian, practices like Ayurveda, like yoga, pranayam, meditation, healthy diet and nutrition. That's where I'm an expert at. And then acupressure. So these trainings just take about 2-3 months. So educating local public, creating new jobs, creating new income for people here in Goa, and this wellness tourism. Instead of doing these what is that mohalla clinics, which are a real old failed system of allopathic medicine, we should be doing these 1,000 or more natural medicine because I've been doing this for 15 years, reversing people of high BP, cholesterol, diabetes, arthritis, obesity, hormonal imbalance, infertility, and all of that. And these things reverse within 3 to 6 months. So, so we are trying to, make Goa, and when you try to implement these models, healthy food and all that, then that's linked to the next project of ours, which is organic farming. We were pushing that Goa should be self-sufficient in organic food. So that organic food comes to the wellness centers, which is healthy food. When you do all of this and you make natural parks for jogging, for meditating, or doing yoga and all that, you are making the land green again. You're trying to purify the water. That's why on the summit we had, sewage treatment system, rainwater harvesting system. So you're trying to purify the land the food, the air, the water. You're trying to use renewable energy. That's also a presentation that was made on using solar power and wind power. Okay, so now these are the things that Goa should be doing and our ministry should be investing in to make Goa better and mainly to create local income and local jobs and promote entrepreneurship by people. So then another one was, besides that, we also were promoting local Goan products from all our trees and all our local resources as another, stream of business. For example, the coconut tree, you can make about 120 products from the coconut tree. And it is a shame that we are not doing it already with coconuts falling from the sky. Actually, Goa should have been famous in India and across the world for it. So where are our government and infrastructure and policies? Why is it not happening? Kerala is known for so many good things, and people are earning from it. The state is getting a name globally also. So when we are trying to do things like this, you see, make the land healthy, clean, green, promote local business, create local economy, give people jobs, even maintain the marine life, allow fishing and the whole fishing communities to kind of earn an income. I was not jumping for joy, though some of my friends were when sharing this, on uh, social media, the Blue Ocean uh, project and all that. Now that is also another kind of capitalist agenda where they've taken it for granted that there's no fish in the shores. So they are going to make this port over there where they're going to make these marine huge boats that will go to the middle of the sea and get, fish from there. But what about a project to do allow the fish to breed and support our farmers and check the net sizes and go by the law and let the fish breed, and because the fish are coming to the shore and you can catch them, that's a better way than spending all this infrastructure and going out. And with all that infrastructure, there are some companies benefiting and earning income, not the local fishermen. So unfortunately, this is what is going on in Goa, where there are so many efforts from people to make Goa clean, green, healthier, bring in tourists for a better experience. And but the government with this project is doing the exact opposite. They're trying to, it is cutting down the greenery, it is polluting the air, it is polluting the water. Even that one station that they were planning at, I don't know if it's still, it's on Istavam Island to wash all the coal over there. So that water is going to go into our ground and half of it is going to go into our rivers. So, so this I can see is exactly opposite to what the people of Goa want, what is good for the future of Goa, what will rejuvenate and help local incomes. And at the time of COVID like this, where so many things are locked down, you need to build smaller industries and cottage industries and support. That's I think where the effort should be, not blocking and shutting up people and you know allowing these natural systems to break down.
So now we'll move to the next question, which has been taken a little bit so far, is how can Goa be saved from this disastrous project?
Uh, See, the first thing that in order to stop this project, people need to understand. I mean, the as far as po- the current citizens groups that are running, that are leading the agitation, are doing a very good job educating all the people, affected people along the railway line. Now we need more people from the rest of the state also to participate, because those that are dependent on tourism, who are dependent on small businesses, factories, even the medical, the pharmacy factories, they will all be affected because of this project. We don't want Goa to be labeled as a polluted state like Delhi today. And Delhi has woken up now after breaking all sorts of records of pollution levels, putting their people's lives at stake. And now they have woken up and they make rules and laws to curb pollution. But it is too little too late. Goa, we are not, we are just, we still have a lot of time to stop this menace. So after people's awareness, of course, a lot of agitations will have to be done. Uh, the reason why I'm not using the word negotiation with the government, because there is no scope for negotiation. Honestly, if the government had to do an assurance that, look, as per our solar policy, we have X number of megawatts farms that we are planning to build, and therefore this power is just for next 10 years or 20 years, I would have understood. Maybe for transition, we need all this. But the fact that the solar policy has been shelved, I had given a lot of suggestions that time on the draft policy, none of which were implemented. Just the draft was notified as is during Madkaker's time. And it looks like the government is very serious about it, about these projects, and they will not back down. And therefore, we cannot back down. Now, how is it possible to win the battle? Number one, and I'm choosing my words carefully. I'm calling it a battle, unfortunately, because the government has declared it on us. We have not, when I say citizens, including the groups, we have not called it a battle. They have called it by taking such a hard stance, and therefore, in a democracy, the people have to be supreme, and this is the agitation is the only way, only option left, a peaceful agitation, as I said. So how do we let's take the example of the power lines. Now the power lines is been the power is coming from Chhattisgarh, that the Thamnar transmission, which is they have taken a loan. Sterlite has taken a loan of 1,000 crores, 1,050 crores, which they probably have to pay in the next 10 to 50 this thing years, 50 years. They are they had won this tender by by quoting the transmission charge of 164 crores. So the loan has already been given, and obviously the government, nobody has paid them till now. So their meter of payback of the loan has already started. They have already spent about 200 crores or something. Now, if every day the project is delayed, it is a cost to this company. And there's only so much of time before their credit rating goes down. It is something about BAA right now. Eventually, if there are more agitations for next 1 year or something, they won't be able to sustain this project. So, so one way is the companies or the government will never accept defeat, but as long as people are out, people are agitating, it's a loss to them, because this current system works on loans, and today the cost of loans is very high. So that's one way of doing it. As far as the coal is concerned, it's a little tricky because the railway has its own laws, and the central government has passed in a couple of draconian laws. One of that is this UAPA, which they are levying it against anybody who raises a voice against them. Sedition and all these things are among these. So we will have to be supporting our brothers and sisters who are leading the agitation, because the moment the central government realizes that the state government is unable to stop these protests and is unable to start these projects, the central government will step in and they will start imposing that. This can happen depending on what happens on the first night, because the agitation at night, as per what I think of it, is that it is a lose lose for the government. If the people succeed in stopping the double tracking, the government will be embarrassed and will be upset. And if they are able to continue with the police force, that will ignite the movement even more, and will get even more people on board who are still not who are still undecided on the fence. So it's a lose lose for them unless the government voluntarily states right now that we won't go ahead with it. But unfortunately, the Goa government is helpless because with the GST system, we are unable to collect any tax, and we are the mercy of the central government to release funds for us. So any government of any state government, especially the one which has is the same party at the center, is at the mercy of the central government and has to listen to everything they do. Uh, so yeah, so what do we citizens have to do? The only way is agitation. Courts has to be a part of it, obviously, and there are fine people and lawyers in the courts. I wouldn't put much faith in immediate results, because courts take their own time, and by the time the damage is already done. And the only thing I hope is that enough of lawyers support the movement, because at the end of the day, when the if the movement continues and the movement is getting successful, the government, especially the central government, will become desperate and will start arresting people, and that is when people have to be okay with that. It's a sacrifice that we have to do, because this is literally another form of colonial takeover. It's a capitalist colonial takeover, where earlier it was the Portuguese company that was, how it was. Albuquerque came here and set up a sport and then slowly took over. So he was not a part of the government. He was part of the traders who funded him. So same thing right now. All these Starlight and all these things, they are not really a part of the government. They are part of this whole lobby of business lobby that is trying to use Goa's resources for their own benefit. They're trying to extract as much as possible, and more importantly, they are causing a loss to our health and the environment, something that we have not quantified in form of financial loss. Every tree, how many, there's a whole branch of economics, of environmental economics, where you calculate the monetary worth of every lake, every tree, every, oxygen, every cubic meter of oxygen, and the cost of pollution on health. That we have not done, and that cost is huge, which we are bearing. We are subsidizing all these companies. It's not our development, it is their development, and we are subsidizing it with our health, our future medical expenditure, our future right to live with dignity will, because there will be a lot of like how Konkan Railway increased the population of Goa. These projects are going to do the same, and eventually what will happen is, the cost, someone will say, why are we taking all this coal to some power company in Karnataka or Chhattisgarh? Why don't we have a we have a coal burning thermal plant in Goa itself? It'll be cheaper, and by that time we'll be so accustomed to coal that we'll say, okay, fine, it'll be cheaper for us. Some minister that time will say, no, no, why we are paying some other state? Let us keep all the investment and revenue here. Why are people opposing? This is development for us. And they will start building all these power things over here. The fact is that while the world is moving to solar, we are still picking up all the mess. Has been the last 50 years since industrial revolution. Industrial revolution benefits the developed countries, and the moment the people wake up and agitate against the pollution there, they move it to third world countries. So right now there is no market for coal in the developed countries. That's why all these, especially the countries like Australia and all, have all these coal reserves. They're trying to dump it on India, and our Indian oligarchy is more than happy to accept it and make money out of it. So we should not be the toilet for all these dirty forms of fuel. I think Goans are wise enough to switch off their fans when they're not needed. They're wise enough to switch off their AC. So we can manage with less power. The government has to tell us that, and and they have to invest. Tell the same companies, invested in solar. So at least our peak demand will be taken by this. So that's how we have to do it. We have to be ready for quite a long battle. And on the other side, the economic issue also is bad. So a lot of people are going to get more and more desperate. But one thing I promise you, this battle won't go on for more than a year, because it's the economics of it. The way I saw the numbers, it doesn't look like they can last for the project. Which if it gets delayed by a year, I don't think it's so it is profitable for them. So yeah, that's my view on this.
Sure. Thanks, Avinash. Hope all the companies move to solar. So, Inacio, would you like to share with us?
Yeah, Avinash spoke wisely on what are the implications if the project is delayed. That is one way of getting rid of the project. But when we are playing with big players like the Adanis, the Jindals, and Vedantas, which is already existing in Goa, I think it's a very difficult task because when we say without, hiding anything or harping on words, I will say when the center is there with them, it is very difficult for this tiny state to cope up because all the projects are central funded. And the only worst thing, as I said earlier also, our government has given a consent to them without even thinking, without even analyzing what are the drawbacks and what are the ill effects. So now for reversing the situation by the state government is highly not possible. I'm not saying impossible, but highly not possible by this government, the present government of Goa. No doubt there are a lot of agitations that we are doing. I'm also part of it. We are just trying to get the people out. It's the people's power that will prevail. Where our elected representatives have failed, miserably failed, they have failed to even understand the logic of why coal should be transported from Goa and not from their own state where the power plants and the steel plants are going to be there. They have ports. They have ports in Karwar. They have ports in Mangalore. Why use Goa? Why? Just to save little bit of if I'm not mistaken, it is less than 50 rupees per ton. But they are looking at 51 million tons, which is a big revenue for them. Now, when you ask me this question of how Goa can be saved, it is a very difficult question to answer because, as Avinash has said, the center has passed so many rules and regulations that they can catch anybody and everybody and just dump on them anything without any trials. But to go further, I would say that should not deter us. That should not deter us. We are fighters. We have liberated our Goa. We have come out of, foreign rule. We have done so many agitations successfully to get a statehood. We had done so many to include our, company into the 8th schedule. It was the people's power which prevailed over the government. But now those were all related to the state government. Here we are dealing with state as well as the center. Now, how do we go about? Is only the people have to be made aware. They should come out. And as rightly said by Avinash, the legal fraternity, with all their brilliant understanding of the laws of the constitution and all that, they should support the people. They should come out openly in support these agitations. The legal fraternity, which I'm sad to say till today, is not backing us. They are really silent. We need not mince words. What is there is there. We have a big fraternity. We have got a big legal fraternity in Goa. Young, old, intelligent, experienced. But I still fail to see they are backing this movement. We need support. Now, as far as the legal way is concerned, I just read on paper today the PIL, which was filed by Dr. Claude Alvarez, has been upheld, and the court has, in fact, stayed the 3 projects at Mollem till December. That is a big victory. It is a big victory for us. Claude Alvarez is an activist who is fighting for us, and even the politicians have gone to the extent of saying, go back. You are not from Goa. Go back to your state. They have said these words to them. We should be grateful to him who's fighting for us, who's fighting for our environment, who's fighting for our future generation. That's the irony of the people we elect, where we ourselves have to blame us. You see, when the 1972 Stockholm Declaration was made for the environment issue, India was part of it. And taking cognizance of that, the Indian Parliament inserted 2 articles in the Constitution. Maybe a lot of people don't know about this. 48A and 51A. In 1976, they included that. And what 41A says, that the Constitution directs that the state shall endure to protect and improve the environment. Improve, not only protect, improve the environment and safeguard forest wildlife of the country. This was enacted into our own parliament and put into the Constitution. Who is following this? Our parliament is diluting laws which are set for protection of environment and for the wildlife. I mean, ecology, environment, and we as human beings are all interrelated. If environment does not stay, we don't stay. We have seen the destruction. We have seen the climate change. It's all related to the environment. I think the government should be wise enough not to dilute environment rules. And we as state as well as citizens should think about it. There are already laws. And 51A, subclause G very clearly says and imposes a duty on every citizen of India. Forget the states. Every citizen of India to protect, improve the natural environment, including forest, lake, river, wildlife, and to have a compassion for living creatures. Now, what does this mean? See, it is written down in the Constitution. Let people read 51A, subsection G. Read this. Compassion for the living creatures. We are killing them today. We are killing marine life. We are killing the flora and fauna. We are killing our wildlife animals. We are killing trees. For what? What is development? The development has to be sustainable for the human being. What will our future generation say? We are unable to protect this for greed. It's the greed which we have taken over. The greed has taken over. And sadly to say, this political class which is there needs a desperate renewal. You cannot change them. You cannot change their mindset. So best, as Avinash said, we need to change the whole system only. We need to change the whole set for Goa. There is a Supreme Court petition which is lying in for the disqualification of here and there. I think if it happens, then the government may collapse. I don't want to go into the political aspect of it, but we are suffering as a result of the rules and regulation made by the same politicians. So it is time to save the environment and us. We need to change these people. Put new people. Let us watch. I agree with Avinash. The people has to think. The people of Goa have to really think. We are killing everything. Now Goa doesn't have much of major industries. What Zuari was there, it is running less than 50% of its ability. It cannot maintain its standard of environment and healthiness, That's why it in fact wants to close down and go for apartments with the government land which was given. There are so many things which are hidden. So how do we sustain? We need to change the setup. And we need the people to come out and fight for us. Because what we do today, it is for the future generation. There is one more thing I need to add. We cannot say we are destroying the environment. Environment and nature knows to take care of itself. It will just evolve and revolve. It is the human who we are will be extinct in this planet and in Goa with so many diseases and so many other things to come. It is sad, but from your platform, I give a clear message to whoever is there, come out, fight. It's difficult, let us fight it. Thank you.
Thank you, Inacio. Absolutely. We are truly destroying ourselves. And we need more people raising the voice. So with that, I would ask Daryl De Souza to share with us.
Yes, thanks, Miguel. I'm in complete support and agreement of what Avinash and Inacio also said as major parts of the solution. And I would just add to that that I think every Goan and even those people who are looking forward to come to Goa and are coming into Goa. Why are people coming into Goa? Why is tourism happening here? Right? It's coming. They are coming because of of course earlier it was better, but it got worse. But they're coming for the air. They're coming for the greenery. They're coming for the beaches. They're coming for the easy life. They're coming for the culture, for the heritage. They're coming to take these nature walks, and so many of even our panelists today, like Feli Gomes tomorrow, he's doing the Asagaon Heritage Walk, and even we had um, uh, uh, one of us speakers present about these local heritage tours. So people are coming here because of that, and every Goan should realize that they have to preserve Goa. And like Inacio said, in the constitution, it is not only to protect but also to improve. So much of destruction has happened only because people are not opposing it. There is no unity and vision. So, with these things that I mentioned, I think people have to start telling the administration what they want and what is good for Goa and what is good for their health. So, all of these projects, I think that committees need to be made, citizens committees need to be made to take this entire movement of wellness tourism forward, to take this entire movement of 500 organic clusters by the state. We have seen the details of it even on our webinar that is not working and it's not functioning in its proper way, right? So just for namesake, a project is done. I think an RTI should go into that soon to figure out if so many farmers have got into the scheme. How come no more, increased amount of organic produce is coming out? I'm still having to need to do my local, such a small, that farmers market here and sell vegetables from my own house, whatever the extra, that I produce to make this. I don't see more organic farming actually happening and produce available over here. So I think one of the biggest things is that people in Goa and those who are coming to Goa for a green, clean future, for healthy food, for a good life, they need to get together and say that now they have to show the administration what they want. If they are just going to sit and think good things are going to happen, well, good things are not happening, as you can see. So a people's movement, of course, by law has to be there. By all these routes need to be there, and the protests need to be there because, after all, it's the people who are saying we don't want this, coal happening in Goa. But at the same time, the people's business model for the future of Goa that has to move in front through committees. It has to be impressed upon the government, and I think that's the route. Once we have a proper health committee from the people, which implements integrative natural medicine, once we have a proper organic farming, of course there is a board and all that, but what is happening through that, this stuck up project of 500 clusters, right? So even in this local products, in so many different areas, we need to have a committee for that. And these are the businesses that we have to put forward, and people have to take it forward and take it to the departments and say these are the businesses to be implemented. And because of these businesses, we want to keep Goa clean and green. This state can make money through its people, through clean green projects. Goa is known for this, and we want to bring it back to the more pristine and healthy, reputation that it had. People really used to love to come to Goa, even 15 years back. Now people are not coming to Goa; they're taking a trip to Bali and to other places because so many Britishers and all. If you ask them why are not coming since the last 3 years, it's flat down. They say Goa is not Goa anymore. So I think that's important. Every Goan should know this, that they have to work for the Goa that they dream about. If they want all of these good things, they have to work for it, and they have to bring up committees, policies, businesses that support all of this. And that's the a very important aspect of this. Of course, our friends and advocates and the activists will do their job, but who's going to? That is just stopping the coal, right? If it succeeds also, but who is going to make Goa the place that people can live in? Even now, there is so much of problem that's happening, and so much of construction, civil construction, and people from out of state are buying into the same models that they used to live in, concrete buildings and all of that. That's another aspect. Builder lobby is also having a wonderful time. Well, they can make good money by making, villas and small houses. Like, to have certain laws to keep the heritage and culture of certain places, I think those laws need to be enacted. That is what people should go after, and try and keep Goa a more healthier place to live in.
Absolutely, absolutely, Daryl. We all have to do our part to make Goa healthier. So now, with that, we'll move to the next question, which is how can people get in touch with our panelists to get to know more about this and solve this issue? Inacio, would you like to share with us?
Yeah, I'm associated with a lot of social organization, and one of them very active now is Goinso Awaz and Goinso Code. People must be knowing it is there on the papers. And in fact, they can get in contact with me personally. I can share my phone number with you, my email address with
In
you.
the chat. All right. Avinash, would you like to share with us? How can our audience get in touch with you so that they can know more and help with the issue which we have right now with the coal hub?
Okay, I'll put my details in the chat box itself. Um, and if they need any more information on it, and I was just in fact, when we were talking, I was just checking something what I would like to share. This is in Sagarmala, on the website of Government of India Sagarmala, and here there's an interesting project which is called Steel Cluster in Southern Maharashtra slash Goa. So let that sink in. They are not expecting Goa to be a tourism destination. Let's be very clear with that. It's this Goa is going to be a coastal industrial cluster, and it all starts with coal. These are the You can go on Sagamala's site, and under downloads you can get this coastal economic zone perspective plan and all that. So in this is one of the thing. It's not just a steel factory that they're expecting in Goa; it's a whole cluster. And they have island development, this thing, cruise shipping. When cruise shipping will just be in transit. So this is something that we need to understand of this entire Sagamala thing. And another thing I would want to share, we are talking, of course, Mollem is a huge issue, the destruction of that. And most people in the coastal areas think that, it's okay, it's happening on the eastern side of Goa. So if you see, can you see the screen? Can you see this map which I'm showing you?
Yes, we can see.
We can see.
Yeah. So you see the two blue lines, the dark blue lines at the bottom. So this Narendra New and Narendra. Now Narendra is an existing. Narendra and Narendra New are a part of this Tomnar transmission lines that are coming in. I think one is existing. This line is a bit but in any case, it's going to come to Sheldon through Mollem. Now the blue line continues from Sheldon right up to Mapsa, and it's dotted. And what dotted means is they are proposed lines. So this high tension to it's 400 kV high tension lines, that is called quad lines. It's 400 kV quad lines, is going to come through the heart of the coastal area. And when these such transmission line comes, they take up a lot of area. Uh, I don't know how they're going to do it, because it's going already we have lost a lot of land for the national highway, and that too is a part of the freight of this. We have and also for this railways that they are trying to. So yeah, we are going to lose a lot more land and environment, not just in the eastern part of Goa, but also the coastal part of Goa. And in this itself, it's very clear in this document that Goa is going to. They have proposed a freight corridor from Cochin to Goa. So from Cochin to Goa, they have proposed a freight corridor, and that is going to, uh, you know, that's another part of it which will eventually come in. If you can remove me out of, if you can see my face, that's a that this is another thing that is going to be a part of that. So there are a lot of projects that are coming one by one into Goa, and it's going to start with this. It's starting with the MPT port expansion and double tracking. So I hope, I mean, if you want more, if anybody wants more, we can get it. I mean, I can share it with anyone, and of course, we need a lot of government documentation also. So yeah, you can. I'll put my information in the chat box, and if anybody needs any information, you can contact me on that.
Sure. Thank you, Avinash. That was very interesting, and I would request Daryl to share his contacts with us.
Yes, thank you, Avinash. That was very, for the people, very disappointing that these are the plans, for Goa, and nothing connected with the, with what anything good that can come of Goa, anything, eco-friendly, green, exactly opposite what Goa has been and the aspirations of the people of Goa to keep it, a healthy place. So I'm just sharing my website with the audience. It is darryldesouza.com. Uh, do get in touch with me for what I spoke about, this wellness tourism model. And also I do a little bit of organic farming, but of course we have a network of friends and we can, so I'm active in those circles too. And also the sustainable village model. Uh, that's what, yeah, I think, I can help with. And once again, I'm saying, people of Goa have to uh, go on and get busy with their agenda and start making that big and putting that on the administration. We have to do our part. Besides all the legal things we need to do to stop this, whole happening.
So, Inacio, would you like to say anything, further, especially about what Avinash shared with us?
No, nothing, nothing, because the rest of the thing is all technical. Why the private forest is taken up to do a substation? These are all technical things which we have to speak. It will take a long time. But if somebody wants to know about that, then I'll be happy enough to advise them and give them. But the only thing is the transmission lines. What I want to say is not going to improve the power situation in Goa, be it domestic, be it industrial, be it for any other purpose. Transmission lines do not, give you the quality of life. It is the distribution lines. They are fooling people. Let the power minister, if he has to, challenge me on this. As long as the distribution lines throughout Goa and the low transmission line of 11 kV and 33 kV are in pathetic condition, the power system, the power breakdowns in Goa will be there today, tomorrow, and for how many long years, I don't know. This 400 kV transmission lines for 220 kV transmission line, which is already there, is not the culprit. It is not the culprit. It is an excuse for a bigger project, which I said also involves the traction system of the railway, which they are not talking about.
Thank you, Inacio, very much for that. It's been my grouse also. I mean, over 30 years, and I mean, the situation of the power at the local house level is the same here in Goa since last 30 years. That time we used to have 3 power cuts a day, and even today we had 3 power cuts in Kalangut, Kandulim, right? So I've been always really puzzled with what's happening with this thing, and so I think you're the right person to come to and you know understand this aspect of why. And the second part is, I don't know whether it's the word Susega or what it is. How Goans have tolerated this for 30 years, I can't understand. You see, now I'm saying that because even I'm a Goan. This is my ancestral house, but I studied and all of that, did my engineering and worked in Dubai and whatnot. I came back to Goa permanently. I used to come every summer vacation. That's why I know what was the power situation over here. in the summer, especially twice or once, at least during summer, we used to come for the whole month. Then sometime during Christmas, we would try to come if we got a week or something. So right since the time I'm a kid, since 8 or 10 years, that would be like 42 years back, I have been seeing the same situation of power in this place. And yeah, especially once I landed over here since 2010, I kept on seeing the same thing, and that was the question mark.
Well,
What's
I have a
happening to the power?
hypothesis of why this was there for the last 30 years. Because,
Yes,
10 years back, where before the mobile phone and everything, when the light used to go, what used to happen? We used to, one of the guys, we used to wait for neighbor, any one particular neighbor to call the electricity department and say, "Hey, kis dale," and the fellow would say, "Yeah, it's coming back." But there was nothing on record to show that there was a power cut, and this still
okay,
happens a lot today. In fact, there is this number 19 on the bill. There's a number there. We still tend to call the local electricity department rather than call the official helpline number. So
right.
from the consumer point of view, see, we are not in the time where it was a favor done by the government to provide power. Now we are bona fide consumers, and the distributing company, or in this case the government, is a service provider. So like a mobile phone or like any other cable. So when it goes down, we need to file official complaints so that that remains on record. And when the
Yeah,
audit comes and we ask for the audit, everything is black and white. That was not happening today. In fact, Roshan Matthias did a very interesting exercise that every time the light would go, they would fill a form in the village as to what time it is gone, what this thing. And he collected all the forms and he submitted it. And from that time, Kandulni has had a pretty good power supply. In fact, this was discussed in one of the public meetings in Kandoli. So yeah, the electricity department has got away with not keeping records of power failures or service failure for far too long, and that's something that if everyone comes together and agrees, especially from a village Gram Sabha point of view, then things can change.
a very good point made, Avinash. Because I know that every time the power goes, my mom will call these. She's got I may think 8 mobile numbers. Okay, or that one,
True.
two at this department, this, that, Kalang, because we are staying on Shimir. Okay, so first house in Kandulim. Um, so she's got these numbers, and she always goes to the local guy for help. He says not me now, this other guy. So yeah, we've not been doing that, and I think that's what we should be doing. In fact, this webinar itself, I started with no power. There was no power for the first 15 minutes, and I'm running on inverter, even the light and everything. So I'm saved. And in
I
between,
live in Fatherda. I live
sorry.
in Fatherda. I live in Fatherda. Within 30 seconds, I call that number, and I take a
Okay,
minute and call the department. And department says, yeah, yeah, we already got a complaint from the head office, and we are taking this thing. So
good,
it's
good. So yeah, this I think many people are missing, and this info should go viral, and then we have proper complaint system, and records will be there that this is the situation, and thank you for that.
yeah.
Yes. So, Inacio, would you like to educate us a little bit more about, first of all, we don't have our own power supply. So, I mean, that's one thing. And the second thing is what do you see? I mean, which can happen? One is you said the distribution. Anything else you see which people can, I don't know, what we can hope for from electricity?
See, I'll tell you one thing. Goa, as far as mass production of electricity, is not possible. Good old days, people were talking about Dudhsagar. People were talking about Dudhsagar, but it is not possible now because in the years, the demand of electricity has increased so much that we cannot figure out, even if we go for hydroelectrical there, with Karnataka, the time and again diverting here and there, it's not possible. What is possible, and as it is Goa from June till September, we don't have much of sunlight. Like we have seen this year, it was a heavy rainfall. We broke all the records for so many decades.
Yes.
But rest of the year we have light. We can go for solar. We can go for solar. Like I know, Loyola High School in Margao is fully dependent upon solar energy. They have installed panel in their own school roofs, and they have connected to the electricity grid, and the extra power what they get, they are giving it in a reverse way to the electricity department. So government should come out and go ahead with this alternate energy. Solar energy is the best. And now the UN is also pushing the central government. I mean, go soft on coal, try to avoid coal. But what we see is they are increasing coal. And the worst part is increasing in Goa. That is what hurts us. But other than that, electricity, we have to depend upon the national grid. But this particular transmission line which we are talking about from Chhattisgarh, I have still not reached that weekend, whether it is from the private players or it will connect it to the national grid. Because if it is connected to the private players, first thing is the electricity charges will zoom up. People will not know today.
Yes.
People will know it later on.
Absolutely.
It will zoom up. Because you see, we had a plant in Zwari of Reliance. The charges for that were double that of Goa. Goa Electricity Department. And eventually it could not survive for long. So the same thing will happen here. And the remaining extra power which we are talking about, maybe another 400 megawatts and all, will be sold by the proponent. That is Tanmar. Tanmar is equal to Vedanta. It is same as Vedanta, Sterlite and all that. They are going to sell and make money. Goa government, people of Goa will have nothing. It's not a project for Goa. None of these three projects are for Goa. It is for the destruction, and as it is, we are diluted. And God knows another 10 years whether there will be anybody called his banker. I really don't know. There will be no place for that. I think Avinash will agree with me.
Oh yeah. See, there is a lot of social engineering going on in Goa, wherein, in fact, there is, if you look back during the since the Bronze Age and later on, the Hebrews, the people of the Jews, whenever any new kingdom would take over, they would take those people and split them into, and put them in another part of the empire, because they knew that the Jews were too intelligent and they would not even listen to any empire. So they used to always shift them either to Egypt or to Central Asia. Something like that is happening, if you see, in Goa very slowly, uh, and wherein these projects are being brought in. Along with that, a lot of people are coming in, and then it's brought precise. The objective is not to create employment for Goans, but to create employment for. I'm not getting into this migrant issue. I'm not talking about low end. I'm talking about very educated people, professionals as well. And eventually, the objective is to dilute the population so much that there's no one united enough to fight for the state or to keep the identity of the state. And with these projects, we can expect, because Goa, we don't have uh, power engineering or heavy engineering, like we don't have the kind of manpower for this, and a lot of people have to come from outside. As far as being, imagine if Goa was not a part of India, how would we generate power? And the state government of Goa and the people of Goa have to think from that angle, that if we were a nation, and if we were a city state like Singapore or or Morocco or something, how would we generate our own power? So one of the things we have to consider is solar. The island of Diu currently produces more power through solar energy and wind than the requirement. They're producing about 12 megawatt of energy, and they consume about 8 megawatts of energy. And if we take a place like Durbat Plateau or even Mopa Plateau, and we fill it up with solar, which is non-polluting, very labor-intensive profession, means it creates a lot of unskilled jobs, especially for the rural people, and that would solve a lot of problems. We can sell power and become self-sustaining. But unfortunately, because we are made to depend on other states, and especially big companies in other states, we are creating it's becoming a problem. I seriously cannot believe that the state of Goa has willingly accepted a coal block from one of the poorest states in India. Why is government of Goa getting into the coal business? Why are we becoming the exact? Why is our democratically elected government becoming the exact kind of regime that we are trying to end? We don't want ourselves or any other. We don't want ourselves being dependent on coal, and we don't want our government exploiting another state for coal. If I mean, I really cannot believe that because this whole coal block and we are expecting revenues from that coal block in Chhattisgarh or somewhere to be used for us. I would say as citizens we should not, because I'm telling you the government has not stated this, but eventually they'll state. They say transportation Goa is dependent on a coal block from the center of India. So we need to get our priorities right, that we have to get out of coal. Coal is not a healthy job creating industry anymore. It's not even a job creating industry for that matter, because most of the operations are automated.
Right.
Solar, you cannot automate it. If once you set up the panels, you need people to clean and maintain it. And there's a lot of job generating potential there. There are a lot of investors there, but we don't want to do it. Why? Because we want the same companies in India that are into solar are primarily dependent on coal, and we have imposed heavy duties on import of cheap, affordable solar panels into India. So we ourselves, our Indian government has blocked solar power expansion in India, and we have blocked innovative technology. We have precisely to pollute us, so that later on the health companies or the medical industry can pop us with pills and with rays and with whatever scans, so that they can make money. And this is we are getting into this vicious cycle. It's absolutely not sustainable, and we should say no. We don't want that. We want a place where our children, our present and future generations are educated. They can create jobs at with the capital, with the money from the state government, from the innovations, from the work, sweat and blood of this, and not from our natural environment resources. And we need to preserve all this. So let us start thinking from this perspective of Goa being a fully independent state in itself. That's the only way we can come up with ideas. But as long as we are getting cheap vegetables from Belgaum, so we don't need to cultivate a forest. We can make buildings out of that, so that people from outside, from other states and from abroad can come and stay in those flats, where they can work for the factories and for the railways that will come through the fields that used to be there. So we are just getting into the cycle of urbanization, and our urban planners, the who are working for the government, they are not urban planners. They are what do you say? They basically destroy. They can destroy any piece of land that given it to them, and so we're just in this vicious circle, and we're going round and round, and we're not coming up with any solution. We're not being able to solve it. And it's so unfortunate that even our elected representatives, we elect them and we hope that they're going, because they have played in the same fields, they have grew up in the same villages that the rest of us have grown up, but somehow they get this ambition that, oh, we'll do it like that. Mangalore, for example, why is Mangalore not used for coal? Because they are keeping it for cement. So somebody, not the politician, but some industrial lobby has already planned what each port in India is going to be used for, and we are copying a Chinese model of the string of pearls, the Sagarmala, nothing but the string of pearls. And what happened in China? China is one of the worst income. Uh, the economic divide is horrendous there, wherein the coastal people are richer and the rural people absolutely poor. And we are heading in that kind of authoritarian regime, which is unfortunate. It's been run by few oligarchs, like what is happening in Russia and other states. And we are slowly eroding our democratic fabric. The only reason why Goa, we are still better off than other states is because we are a small state and we can explain to each other the issues which, what is happening, which is the luxury not available in other parts of India. And so somewhere it needs to end. And it's good thing that the government is exposing itself, exposing the oligarchs, especially through this railway double tracking and all. I would be more scared if they had to, do things quietly and suddenly we see in some part of Goa some big factories come up and it's already polluting. It's like things are still happening in the open and people are still aware of it. So that's some silver lining, or you can say a positive for us. But we cannot give up because eventually we will have to move out of the state. And unlike Maharashtra, we can go from one district to another, to the 10th or 15th district or 20th district. We have only one small state which has been, for token sake, divided into two districts, and we can't move. The moment we move out of Goa, it's like a whole different country for us. So we don't have any other place to go and keep our culture and identity, our language, our behavior, our mannerisms. There's no other place like it. So if we want to maintain all that, we have to maintain the kind of economic activities that go on. And just to end, I would still, one of my struggles, and I've already sent a notice to the government, is to implement the 73rd Amendment as per, because they're already in violation. On the first, all the village plans are supposed to be submitted to the district. So we don't have a district committee, we don't have a Zilla Panchayat as of now. And even the State Finance Commission is defunct. So once the village starts preparing the plans and deciding what they want in the village, that is when we are going to see a change. We are opposing a lot of things. So they say, okay, fine, since this area is empty, let's do some economic activity. I promise jobs. So we
Right.
don't want that. We want the villagers to decide what kind of jobs we want. So I hope people get involved in the planning process, because that is what democracy is all about.
Yes, very key. That last part, Avinash, very key. That there is a mechanism and we are not using it, and we have to wake up and start using that. And through the mechanism, tell our government and our representatives what we want Goa to be. And so besides, of course, there are huge waves also in Goa. So tidal energy is also one option. Maybe there are no technologists for it in Goa, so no conversation is happening. I hope some global Goans start the conversation, and with our people who are in that field. So besides solar and wind also can be used. There should be solar, tidal energy also. And
Well, just our canal network, if we cover just a canal network with solar and our dams and whatever, that's if too much. All just the government land. Forget about any new this thing. Just the existing land we have to utilize it. We don't have to do anything else.
right. And I completely am in the same line of thinking, because this whole New Earth Summit, it's only talking about how to make a state self-sufficient, because in that way a state can be independent. People can ask for policy as per the design of the state and implement. Here we are getting power from here, something else from there, and all. Then our government, our representatives had a very good chance to say, sorry, we can't do this because we have this limitation. Sorry, we can't do that because power is coming there. Sorry, this is the situation, so vegetables have to come in from Belgaum. So that's a key point which all of our local Goans should understand. If you want your state to run completely the way, or even have the mechanism, right, to run it in the way the people want to run it through the panchayats and all this administration mechanism, the first thing is you have to have work for self sufficiency and not dependence on other states. And I agree with that completely. Goa, the land, it has all the resources and it can be done. Now it's just the people who have to go forward, make the committees, bring the technologies, put it, across, put it in newspapers, send it to the international community. That publicity should happen. And if our government is just, going to sit on it, then they should get bad press in the international community for not doing, the right things for the future.
But that
Not
too
only of
benefits
Goa,
them, because the more bad press comes, the lesser tourism will come. and the lesser tourism, and they will push this industries even more. So it's it's
It's a cycle.
it's a
Uh,
cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, but
We are made to believe, that Goa cannot be self-sufficient. Whether it is power, whether it is our food, we are made to believe that we have to get everything from outside. Now slowly people are going back to agriculture. That is the good thing.
yes,
Now the casinos have started lately and they are asking the government of Goa for certain relaxations. I would suggest collect money from these casinos and all and give to the farmers who have lost their fields because of excessive and heavy rains. Do that. That is the goal. That is the goalness. It is not going to happen because you see, what we need to do is like our government says that you cut trees in Goa, we will plant it in Karnataka. Can you imagine? We have
yeah,
such a government who says like this. That means tomorrow you have no plants in Goa, but for the afforestation you do it in Karnataka. So we all shift there. Do they want to
that,
say that?
that means we'll all have to go for the second breath over there.
No,
One breath here and one breath in Karnataka, and that's how we can live.
basically now we are almost at the fag end of our Goenkarpon or whatever we are talking about. We need to come out and we need to hold it back. And we need to hold it back against these people who are making these rules and who are making a normal go and believe that you are dependent. You cannot be independent. This is the mentality we need to change. And to do this, we need the people with us. I think people are listening. I don't want to say anything negative because people are coming out. There is a good response, but they have to come out wholeheartedly. The youth has to come out. The youth has to come out. There are a lot of good things happening here and there. I have seen we are also organizing things. They carry the message, but they don't follow it up, which they need to do.
Very
It's
right.
not that you come for an event, you see this, and then you don't put actions. That is required. That Susega, what you have said, is not the layback system. It is a relaxing. Goan is always a relaxing person. We relax, but not Susega doesn't mean we are not lazy. That also has to be taken out because a lot of places outside it is projected Goans are Susega, not knowing what is the exact meaning. Susega is peaceful, not lazy.
So I
But we
mean,
have been made to believe that we are lazy.
yeah. So I've seen this reality that, of course, I accept that also. We take it easy. We want to live a more peaceful life, and that is what we like to do, and we can stay with that culture. But the thing is that when people come from out of Goa and they are aggressive, they are business minded, they are setting up shop, they are doing this that, then they come with a different energy and they are doing things, and businesses are getting taken over. So we can continue being relaxed and easy and believing in the Goan way of life, but then we have to see what else is coming into Goa and how is it operating. So
So,
guess we'll look at that reality too.
Absolutely. And especially this concept of being independent, I think it means that we all need to go off grid. I think that's what I hear with Inacio especially. And we have our first question. So the question is, it's already answered. Will
No, no, I
the
just
scenario change if the government is changed by another party?
uh, can I answer that since I have?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So
I think
as of now, if any other party comes, the among the parties that are already existing, if any party comes, no, the situation will not change because the parties are funded by these very companies. So let's and it's just as long as these companies are funding the parties and these parties come into power, it's going to remain the same. So how does it change? If you look at US, there are people elected like Bernie Sanders and Alexander Cortez and a lot of Ilhan Omar and all. So these congressmen and senators who have come there, they are called progressives. They have been right wing liberals. So these new breed of politicians are called progressives, and they push something called a Green New Deal in the US, which includes moving out of coal and into renewable energy. It includes taxing the super rich up to 70%, the upper bracket. And also it includes free education, free healthcare. So with such object, these are just a few of that. Uh, with such uh, agendas, if we have people entering current parties, and it won't happen in right wing parties because generally right wing parties are entirely pro corporate. It will be either a center or left kind of a political situation. So if we have these kind of, and it doesn't depend whether it's Goan party or non-Goan party, because even if you have a Goan party, whatever happens, the rest of India does affect us. So if we have these kind of people, if we vote for these kind of, if we push these kind of people into political parties and tell these political parties, yes, we need these kind of candidates who will, for the sake of the new Green New Deal, and we get them elected through our money, through small donations, then we have a chance. But as long as candidates and political parties are dependent on Vedanta, on casinos, money, on the steel lobby, or any lobbies, no, things won't change. So we need to remove money out of our pockets, 500 maximum 100 rupees. Like this Joe Biden, who's fighting Donald Trump, his average donation is about $18. It's very small. There's a lot of people donating very small amounts. So that is what will bring in the kind of change we need. It is not us, not those kind of people who are going to say, okay, I'm going to pay me 1,000, I'll vote for you. That is not going to bring in this change. So yeah, that's my opinion on that.
Yes. So a whole green party, hopefully of late.
The whole new breed of politicians who enter existing political parties. Let's not talk about new political parties. A lot of political parties have come and gone in the last couple of decades, and we've seen what happens. So they are just making empty promises. We need a proper agenda of moving to renewable energy, free healthcare, free education. No corporate is going to sponsor any candidate or any party that promises these things, because that means that they'll have to shell out more from their profits. So that's a good thing. So to break this cycle, we need to bring in people who do not get funded from this corporate lobby.
I
Absolutely.
agree with Avinash. He's a political expert anyhow, but I would still say parties, leaving them aside, we should go for good people, people who understand nature, people who understand the damage that has gone through, that Goa has gone through. Some reversal process has to be done, and only a person who can think, who has got a vision, will be able to do it for whatever that is left or going to be left of Goa. Just going after parties and electing what garbage they give us will be a dangerous thing
Exactly,
for our
Inacio. It's like,
future.
I've been advising like people who I talk to. If you can get 30% of your voters, 30% of your voters to give you $100, you are sure to win, because that 30% is the majority when it comes, because the rest of the votes will be divided among the rest of the candidates. But since that person has given you $100, his family is sure to vote for you, and because he's making a contribution, and therefore you owe the people. So that's the political thing. But every good person, we have put good people in us, very well, and they don't get elected.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's not about good people. It's about a person who has a kind of charisma, and especially in the terms of political funding. It's like everyone just say we don't want funding from these. We don't want parties who take money from these corporates. That should be our thing.
exactly.
Yes,
Nowadays, politics is reduced to funding. You no money, no honey. That's what it
Exactly.
is. I mean, somewhere down the lane. In fact, you being a young guy, Avinash, I would say that you should be stepping into politics of Goa.
No, I'm still
That would
too
be, that would
hyperactive
be
and I'm still too
just
hot-headed to enter
off
politics.
the
Even a
track, but
few.
off the track to
uh,
say, but yes,
Avinash, I see one other part of the problem is any party in Goa that has its main bigger section of it at the center is going to be manipulating Goa. I think that's the next problem. Uh,
Uh, I have a view on that actually. See what happens is we are a single country. Let's not take it. So whether it's different political parties, regional parties coming together in the parliament, or one party from with MPs from different areas, uh, it kind of negates that factor of the local versus central. Can we have a local government pushing for solar, and on the other side, a government who is pushing for coal in the neighboring state? It's going to be a conflict because whichever party at the center, those people are going to blackmail Goa, especially with the GST system where there's money. Earlier, the state used to collect the money and give it to the center. Now the center collects the money and gives it to the state. So the center can hold the state at ransom,
Yeah.
irrespective of the party, to get to push those projects.
They are doing it.
So this
Got it.
this system has changed, and like just like the US, they also have like Republicans, Democrats, like right wing, left wing, like the way we have. So there also is changing slowly, and with every election, people are exposed to see what the right wing is doing and how they are pushing they are letting people die for the sake of profits from the corporates. We have decreased our corporate tax from 28% to 22 or 23%, costing us 80,000 crores. That money could have gone into jobs in Goa, and we have lost that. So for what? For them to now still Vedanta and all these people, they're buying back their shares. They have so much of cash reserve that instead of investing in creating green jobs, they're buying back their shares and they're trying to take it out of the stock market and make it less democratic than what it already is. So even the shareholders, the general public, don't have a say in those industries. So it's so sad that the way things are happening, and we need to change that. And it cannot happen just with our own state having a regional party, because South India there are a lot of regional parties, but uh, I don't think it depends on that. If there's a regional party, great, but I would still suggest we make do of what we have rather than coming up with more options and confusing people altogether.
All right.
In fact, we need people more than the parties. We need people who we can
Exactly.
trust at least for 5 years, if not later. Then
Yes,
only.
and
After
Inacio,
parties, it's not going to happen.
and the second thing I would like to put the Inacio, talkers are many, right? So, but we should try to push those people forward who have at least for 5 years or maybe 10 years done good work for Goa, and it's there. Otherwise, we have a lot of people who are saying, I will do this, I will do that. I have seen in life people say a lot of things, but I mainly go by what people have done. And I think people should vote for people like that. You know, if any of our very well-known people in Goa who have been doing work in organic farming or environment or whatever it is, right? And when you just put up a name and they say, yeah, this guy has been doing this work for the last 10 years. Of course, he will do a good job when he comes into power. He doesn't have to ask for my vote. I will give him the vote, right? So I think that's the kind of candidates we have to put forward where people know. And in fact, I think such candidates don't need to, all this campaigning that goes on, so much of money that goes on in campaigning. Campaigning is just happening because nobody knows what that guy has done since the last 5 years. So he has to come and say, hey, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do this for you. But I think if genuine candidates come, they don't even need to campaign because the moment the name comes in the paper, people know, yes, this guy has done this. And I would like to vote him into power because in that department, he will do good work.
Exactly. So, hope this happens. But, last election, the issue was on mining, 2017. Uh, 3 projects. The next election will be hot. Kurso Go and Naka against coal. That will be the verdict of Goans, I think, on coal. So we have to fight this. This was a good debate we had. We actually have to take this war forward against coal. If this coal is stopped, lot of unwanted people and who have got an evil eye on Goa will leave. They will leave. We can sustain ourselves on tourism and can make this state, more beautiful, more happy, and invite a lot of, nice people to be with us rather than what's happening, the dirty tourism that is happening here now. I hope it happens one day, very soon, if not late.
Absolutely, absolutely, Inacio. Thank you so much. And with that, this brings us to the end of our webinar and an end of an amazing series of 30 webinars across this month. So I would like to thank you all, and I would like to thank our attendees who've been with us. And yes, now let's all meet again at the new Earth Summit. Thank you, everyone.